When disaster strikes, you can count on the emergency damage experts at Paul Davis. Fire, flood, mold, or a storm, it doesn't matter. You can contact Paul Davis. Always devoted, always polite, always respectful of your needs. Learn more at acetj.com/Paul Davis.
Let's face it, most celebrities we know instantly by name. But what I think is more fun is when you may not even know someone's name, but you know their character. In the case of comedian actor Jon Reep, he came to national prominence in the early 2000s, around 2004, with the Dodge Hemi commercials. You may not know his name, but if you remember that time, you have seen the commercials. That thing got a Hemi? Well, that's what launched Jon Reep. But how did he get to that point? And how did his stand-up career flourish, and his acting career? And what were his successes and his failures? And why is he now back in his hometown of Hickory, North Carolina? And how has his definition of success changed? On this edition of And the Rest is History, we spent some time with Jon Reep in his studio in Hickory, North Carolina, where he does his current YouTube show. And it's fantastic. And he's fantastic. There's something here for everybody to learn. This is And the Rest is History with Jon Reep. So let's start with a real open-ended question.
Yes.
What is the moment, can you pinpoint a moment in your life, whether it's after you're a professional or before when you were a child, that you can look back on and go, and the rest is history from that moment forward?
Wow. It's funny. Like in my career, I feel like there's been different little tiny moments that build up.
Yeah.
But that one comes a little later than the other moments. Like I remember the moment of like, oh wow, I can do this. Like I can be good at this. Stand-up comedy.
Yeah. When was that?
That would have been at Good Nights, probably 1996 or 97, where I'm on stage. I'm doing a new bit, and it's killing. And I'm like, wow, that was in my brain. I'm like, that wasn't even that hard. I was spoiled in that I started at Good Nights because that's a very good club,
right,
and it's easy to do well.
But
there.
how long had you been doing it before 96?
Like a year.
Okay. So
but
for a year, were you unsure?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I had little tiny successes.
Yeah.
But it was difficult. I just remember this one moment. Like I think it was like, because your brain, when you do stand up long enough, will start. It's amazing what your brain can do, because 1 minute I'm in the middle of the joke and I'm delivering it and I'm trying really hard and it's going well, and the other, at the same moment, the other side of my brain's going like, oh man, you can do this. This is good. You got this crowd eating out of the palm of your hand right now. And it was all that was happening at once. So that's the first time that my brain was able to have multiple thoughts at once.
So that was the moment where it clicked.
Like, where I'm like, I can do this.
For a living, forever.
Well, successfully, for fun at least.
Right.
The living part didn't come until probably when I was invited to the Montreal Just for Laughs Festival. And that's like this Super Bowl of comedy festivals that happens in Canada every year. It's called Just for Laughs. And I was invited there as a new face and did well there. And managers, agents, networks all wanted meetings with me. And then I started thinking, oh, I think this is going to be the actual career.
What year was that?
That would have been 99 or 2000.
So there's a 3 to 4 year span between the moment it clicked in your head, oh, I can do this, until the career, really, like, for a living. Yeah. So what were you doing in addition to comedy in those 3-4 years?
Well, I was young and dumb enough to not know about consequences if I didn't make. I didn't really give myself a backup plan. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, I was going to say, so many successful people say the same thing. I didn't have a plan B. It was either going to work or I was going to, be a junkie or something. Right. I don't know.
Well, the last job I had before I quit comedy, I was actually working at UNC TV, like the PBS in North Carolina. I was working on shows, and it was in the Research Triangle Park. I was going to school at Raleigh. I was doing comedy at night, and I was also doing this job. I was a communication theater major, and so I thought that'd be a natural fit. And I was doing stuff behind the camera. I was running a teleprompter. I was holding a boom mic. It was that kind of stuff. But that was the last real job I had, and I remember I had access to great equipment, because of the TV station.
Sure.
And so one night when I was doing like a feature spot at Good Nights, still working, but they gave me a feature spot, which means I do 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I had my friends, I said, hey, can you guys come in? We got all these cameras. And I paid my coworkers to come in and film me. I had a 3-camera shoot, and I had 2 channels of audio. So I could have one on me, one on the crowd that was loud. I turned that up. I knew how to edit stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, I'm going to make my own half-hour special. And then I took that, and because I had all these access to all these VHS Betamax recorders, I could record that thing on 10 different tapes at once simultaneously.
Shuffle them out to people looking for jobs.
For free.
Yeah.
And because they were recycled tapes that were just laying around.
Yeah.
And so it cost me no money to make my own half-hour special. I started sending those around to everywhere I could get an address to a comedy club before the internet. So I actually had to find a catalog that had all the addresses to every comedy club in the country, put it in an envelope, pay postage, and mail it to all these places. So over time,
and then wait to hear back.
To hear back. So maybe that's why it took so long, because we didn't have the internet. But I was doing that while working, and then slowly all these offers came in. Like, yeah, we'll give you this weekend, we'll give you this weekend, we'll give you this weekend. And before I know it, I'm looking at my calendar. I've got like 3 months booked. And I'm like, well, I can't do this and have this job at the same time. So I went into my supervisor at UNC TV, and I said, hey, I think I'm going to quit. I've got all this stuff. And that's when I quit my job, October 1998, quit my job to do it full time.
So you almost fell into being a touring comedian. Because you kind of didn't realize, I've got 3 months booked. I can go on the road and be full time.
Yeah, and I told him, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen after 3 months. If it doesn't work out, I'm going to crawl back in here on my hands and knees and beg you to hire me again.
But you got to go for it when you got the chance.
And I thought, I got a credit card. I'm like, I'll just, whatever, I'll just live off my credit card.
Then let's backtrack a little farther then. You know you can do it in 96.
Yeah.
You go out on the road for the first time in 98.
Yeah.
But when did you know you were funny?
Oh, that was in probably 3rd grade. I mean, my dad was the funny one. My dad got class clown when he was in high school.
Okay.
Back then they call it most witty or wittiest or something. I got it. My brother got it after me when he was in high school. So it was sort of just there all the time, like just funny was in our house.
Yeah.
But I was really just trying to make my dad laugh most of the time. So I got it from him. I remember a 3rd grade teacher once told my parents, because I was cutting up, making all the kids laugh in 3rd grade, you need to take this kid to Hollywood right now. My teacher said that to my parents in 3rd grade. They just laughed it off. Because, when you hear that in Hickory, North Carolina in the 3rd grade, you just go, okay, right. And then I went on to be class clown. So I always knew I was funny, like from an early age. I didn't know it would be a career.
Right.
Yeah.
But you just knew.
Yeah, I knew I could make people laugh.
I can make people laugh.
Yeah.
So what is it like? Because I'm fascinated by the writing process, whether it's a songwriter or especially a comedian. Like, what is that like? How do you craft things? Because I don't think people understand for you to get 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
A 2 or 3 minute bit may take you, I don't even know the number of hours, weeks, months.
Yeah.
Like, where does it all start for you? How do you start putting it together?
Well, there's many ways to do it, right? So in the beginning, you don't know. So the best thing to do is just write as much as possible. Write everything down. I remember I would write like 5 pages on one topic, and I would think, this is going to kill. And then I'd go on stage and go like, only 3 sentences worked. And so over time, the audience will edit for you, because you'll go up there and try everything, and some things work, some things don't. Then the next time you try that same thing, you cut that stuff out and expand on the stuff that do work.
So do you go up now with things like you'll go up somewhere and say, hey, I need 10 minutes or whatever. And you take that, because you hear the stories like in LA at the Comedy Store or whatever. Yeah. People go in and they've got their little, and I've seen them with their little page.
Yeah,
and they're almost like checking their notes and going through and like, oh, that bombed. Take that out.
Some people do that. That's just my style. That's a an age gap thing. Because after I'm 50, so the kids today, they don't mind taking the pad up there. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I feel like make the effort to at least commit some of this to memory. It doesn't have to be word for word what you wrote. Basically, you want to get down a couple of beats, a couple of points of like, okay, if my joke is about finding my dad's VHS porn tape when I was a kid, what are the funny things that happened? What are some certain words I want to hit? You might want to do a joke a certain way, but if it's funny, I kind of remember it. But when you're starting out, you don't know. So it's best if you're starting out to write as much as possible, try to remember as much as possible, or you could take it on stage and then see what works. But you don't really know until the audience. You don't know until you're up there.
So when you start out though, you're obviously learning.
Yeah.
You're not very good.
You don't know. We don't even know what kind of comedian you're going to be.
That's what I was going to say. So you've got a bomb
Yeah.
somewhere along the way, right? Is there
Yeah.
the moment where you look back on it, like you're up there thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this. I'm tanking this right now.
Well, it's funny. Like my first time on stage, my friend Marty recorded it. He had a camcorder, and I did not do great, but I did good enough to get me to go back.
So you got some laughs.
So I got some laughs, even though I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And the jokes weren't great. And no one could hear me because I didn't know that you're supposed to put the microphone right here. So I'm talking like this, no one could, they hear half of what I'm saying. I thought it'd be funny to fall down on stage, and people thought I actually fell and felt bad for me. And then I was like, no, I didn't. So a lot of stuff happened, but a couple of things worked. And then I watched the tape later. I'm like, oh, I can fix this. Yeah. I can fix this. So, but yeah, I've bombed. We've all bombed. Yeah. I don't know any comedian that's done it this long that hasn't bombed. We all bomb, but it's as long as you don't bomb so bad that it scares you away. If you bomb and you get 3 laughs, and maybe the idea was to get 50 laughs, and you get 3, but that 3 is what gets you to go back. Then that's okay. You can fix it if you know what you're doing, but. It's trial and error.
Sure.
You don't know.
So to that point, have you ever been, well, obviously you've never been scared away, but have you ever been close to being scared away? Or is there a moment where doubt has really crept in and you thought, maybe this is not for me? When was that?
Only recently.
Really? Mm-hmm. Why?
And it's COVID.
Okay.
COVID happened, and comedians, we are non-essential. So, you know what I mean? It's like the first people who go back to work are hospital people. I mean, comedians were the last ones. We're up there physically yelling at people, spitting COVID out into an atmosphere in a closed room. So all my gigs were getting canceled. I didn't know what I was going to do. So for a year, I didn't work. I didn't do stand-up at all. And it was kind of nice in a weird way because I've been doing it for so long. Sure. And now I get to be with my parents. I get to be with my family, my friends, and we're having fun, and we're working out. We're doing all this stuff. And I didn't do comedy. But there was one gig that was not canceling. And I did not want to be the one to cancel on them. I never wanted that on my record of like, well, Jon Reep, you canceled, so apparently you don't want to do this. So I never canceled. I let them cancel, except for one gig, which wasn't canceling, Tampa, Florida. It was like we're playing a game of chicken. Yeah. And they're like, no, you come. I'm like, okay, I'll come. And I get there, and a year's gone by, and I haven't done stand-up. And it is muscle memory. You do have to work out. You have to keep doing it in order to retain it. I was scared to death because I was sitting in the green room, and it was 10 minutes till showtime. And I'm back there. Sometimes I'll keep notes on my phone, or I'll used to write it down, just like a set list. Like musicians have a set list. I would do that like a joke list. And I'm sitting there, I'm trying to write my joke list, and I just remembered, not only am I forgetting some of my jokes or even new ones, like I'm also forgetting what I called them. Like I don't even know what the title of them are because it's been that long. Yeah. And I was scared to death. But luckily the audience was nice and forgiving because it was COVID. They were spread out. They're like, we're just happy you're here, man. We're just happy to be out of the house. Just do whatever. Just talk. And I got through it. But it was not fun, So I was scared in that moment. That was, 2-3 years ago.
Did you do anything prior to that? Like did you film yourself as a warm-up kind of thing? Or did you? Were you able to do anything in front of people before that?
Just this.
Yeah. Okay.
This country-ish. Yeah. Luckily, this show also, another good thing about doing, what we do, this podcast for me has generated new material because I'm always talking about whatever's going on in the news and with my friends, and just talking out loud sparks ideas for new bits. So this was my creative outlet during COVID. So I was happy to be able to talk out loud. But what I did in that moment was, like, that day, I remember, like, and I'm a procrastinator. I should have done this. I should have been doing this the whole time.
Right.
But in a weird way, it was like, oh, free vacation for a year. And I just was like, and I'm done with it.
Sure.
You know? But I got stuff online on YouTube. So I just would go back and watch myself. You know, like before, like, okay, so I did that. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, then I could do this. Oh, yeah, maybe I'll do this. So I have like a greatest hits. Like, if you come see me do comedy, you're going to hear a couple of stories that maybe you've heard before.
Right.
I've got a story about my dad almost drowning in a pool.
Right. Yep.
And people want to hear that.
Sure.
Like, they'll bring friends and go, oh, you got to hear this story, because I don't know if this is good or bad, but when it comes to me, like, I'm not just a straight up joke punchline comedian, and that's great. I enjoy those guys. I'm not good at that, so that's why I don't do it. But the good thing about that is stories last forever. Jokes last one time. Like, if you just tell a joke, then I tell you the joke, you know the joke. If I tell it to you again, you're like, yeah, I know that joke.
Right.
But if I tell you a good story and like a month goes by, you're like, oh, you got to tell Randy that story.
That's interesting.
A story lasts longer.
I've seen Bert Kreischer and Ron White. I saw Ron White in January, and he did something. So at the end of his show, he was clearly working off a new material because he had a notepad on the floor with like a little list.
Ron White?
Yeah. And at the end, he just said, you got a couple you want to hear? It was like people were shouting out song requests, and he did and stuff that I knew. Yet it was still funny to finally see him do them in person.
Yeah, that's true.
It was great.
And even in those moments, like even the story, for example, my pool story, I've added things along the way.
Yeah.
So even if you've heard it before, you've not heard it this time, because I've added a new thing, or I thought of something, or I'm doing something different. So it's a little different.
So you talk about the fact you were a story guy, and you're not a joke guy. Was it always that way for you? Or did you try one like, I'm not good at that. I better stay away from that and do this?
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, like I was saying, you don't know what you are yet.
Right.
You just got to throw everything up against the wall and see what
scary
sticks.
is that?
That's very scary. I don't even know what I was going to talk about the first
time you went up, not to interrupt you, but I wanted to get this in. How many minutes did you have to do?
I think it was 3 to 5.
3 to 5. Now, did you have 3 to 5 minutes of material, or did you think you had 3 to 5 minutes of material?
I didn't know how to time it. I didn't know what 3 to 5 minutes was. I had one topic, maybe two topics that I was just going to do and see how long it was.
Yeah.
I kind of remember like practicing the routine in front of my mirror, which is dumb, because really when you're on stage, you're not looking at yourself, you're looking at people.
Right.
So that's dumb. But you kind of want to know what you look like, I guess. That's why people do it. But I remember doing that and maybe timing myself. I had a timer. I was thinking, well, okay, I think that's what this is. And so I don't know. I didn't know exactly what the time-wise, but I remember I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I just was like, well, what was the last thing I made my buddy Andrew laugh? What was that? And I started thinking like, oh, okay, we were talking about the Panthers and how the coach, Dom Capers. Remember Dom Capers was our. This is when I started. Dom Capers
was the first Panthers coach ever.
That's when I started. Yeah. So one of my first jokes was about the Panthers.
Okay.
And it's not a great joke, but I remember we were talking about something, and in an interview, Dom Capers said someone was asking him about Tim Biakabatuka, which was the new running back. And he said, well, what do you think about this new running back, Tim Biakabatuka? And he said, well, I think his athletic ability speaks for itself. And I just thought that sounded funny to me, like, what would that look like? And I go, well, Tim, what do you think? Instead of answering the question, he just starts doing aerobics, because that's his athletic ability speaking for. So it's a dumb joke. And so I just started doing that. I started, I like cut to Tim, and I was physical, so I do physical stuff. And I remember another joke was me trying to go, I was like, someone said, I see goatees are popular now. I don't know if I can grow a goatee, but maybe I should. Maybe I should try. I'll try right now. So I was going to push the hair out of my skin. I mean, it's dumb stuff, but I remember those two subjects is what was making my buddy Andrew laugh.
Yeah.
And I just started with that. And then over time, when you watch other comedians, I actually took a class. There was a guy teaching a class at Goodnights, and you did learn some little hints, hacks along the way. Like make sure you move the mic stand. Try to make the sentence in your joke make the funniest thing at the end. Yeah. You know, tell them what's funny, then show them what's funny is another way. So I learned those little things. But in the beginning, I had no idea what the topics were going to be. I had no idea if I was a joke teller, if I was a storyteller. And over time, I realized I'm just better at stories and acting things out than I am at words. I'm not a wordsmith.
But talk about how the two things that stand out to me about stand-up is always, one, it's got to be, never having done stand-up, but I'm fascinated by it. It's got to be very, A, scary, but B, lonely. Because it's not like you have a teammate. If you're on a basketball team, right, your team is failing. If you're an actor on a sitcom, the whole show is failing. Yeah. But if you are out on the road, you're in Des Moines, Iowa, and you're by yourself, and you go up and bomb, that has got to be a horrifyingly lonely existence.
Yeah, because you can't blame anyone but yourself.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of comedians, that was a bad audience tonight. It's like, was it? Or was it you?
Well, that's one of the things I love about the radio. TJ's told program directors for a long time, if the ratings are bad, it's just because your listeners are stupid in your town. They're just not listening to us. That's their problem, not ours. Because we're doing quality material.
Well, we know we're good.
We know we're good.
They're just not getting it. Now, I feel that way, too, about some of my jokes.
Yeah. So it is, though. It is lonely. It's a scary, lonely thing, right?
Yeah, it is. The good and bad of that, doing it on your own, you don't have to split a paycheck. It's all yours, unless you got an agent or a manager. But typically, you don't have to spread that money around with other people. But it is lonely. You will go, when I was on the road living by myself, off of my credit card, from hotel to hotel. You know, I remember I've been in every state in this country. I'm a lucky guy. Yeah. I've been in every state in the country. I've seen a lot of cool, interesting places, you know, but it's weird. Like you go to, let's say you're doing a gig somewhere near the what do you call the Grand
Canyon?
Grand Canyon. Okay. Let's say I'm wherever that is. I'm doing a show at the Grand Canyon. I'm like, well, I'm in town for this weekend. I'll go check out the Grand Canyon. Well, you go by yourself? And you just stand there. You're like, oh, look, there's the Grand. Oh, it's just me. So that's lonely. Yeah. And so a lot of times that prevents you from getting out and doing stuff. But what I kind of did was try to make friends with everyone at the comedy club. So whoever the manager was, whoever the bartender was, whoever the waiters and waitresses are, I kind of invite them to go do something and hang out. And over time, I mean, that would kill the loneliness aspect. And then once I got to headliner status, I was able to bring my own openers. So now I got a buddy who opens for me, and we hang out and do stuff. But in the beginning, just doing it on your own, it is lonely. And a lot of guys, you know, and it's sad, a lot of comedians die. You know, they'll kill themselves, or they get addicted to drugs and alcohol. So there is the dark side of that loneliness part of it. And it's
was that something that was ever difficult for you to avoid?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, basically, they're handing you free drinks every weekend. Yeah. Everywhere you go. Someone is laughing and drinking with you. You walk in, I'm talking as a headliner. You walk into a comedy club, they go, hello, Mr. Reep, what can I get you? What do you want to drink? What do you want to eat? What can I get you here? And you're like, oh, well, they're encouraging this. And over time, it can be a problem. So I don't know. I've done many shows way too drunk. I've done shows not drinking, of course. I try to have a healthy balance with it, but it can be a slippery slope. Right now, I mean, we're talking, I'm not sure when this is airing, but we're talking it's April. And so once a year, my new thing is, and I got this from Bert Kreischer and Joe Rogan, they did a Sober October. Right. And I did that last year. I did Sober October. No drinking for 1 month. I feel like if you don't drink any alcohol for 1 month, your body has time to heal itself.
It resets itself at that point.
Yeah, and it's like you're good for another 11 months.
11 months.
So right now I'm doing no drinko till Cinco de Mayo. Okay. So I'm not drinking anything. I've done this all of April till May the 5th. And then I'll turn it up. Yeah. We'll be back. But I try to have one little beverage before I go on stage. Typically it's a sugar-free Red Bull and vodka. That gets a little bit of energy. It also reminds me, hey, you're a comedian. This is supposed to be fun. Yeah. So I do a little bit of both. And then afterwards, maybe a beer. But it can be tricky.
Yeah.
It can be tricky.
So you mentioned something about how blessed you are and you've got this life. Is it what you envisioned it? Like, does being a successful stand-up and touring the country or the world, is it as good as you envisioned? Is it different than you envisioned when you first started out doing it?
It's weird. I think in my brain, I was going to be like hugely successful. Like in my brain, Well, the fantasy is you got a house in the hills, and you've got pools and hot tubs and servants and maids and Playboy bunnies running around. Like in my brain, that was the goal.
Right.
And then over time, the goals change, the reality sets in, but it's still
the business changes.
Changes, and I don't have that fantasy anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that I'm able to last this long and do it successfully this long. But also, that's not what I'm chasing anymore. I just if I can avoid a real job for as long as I have, that's a victory, and get paid no matter what it is.
But you're still all these years in now. You headline everywhere, everywhere that you go. You've had you've done TV in a variety of different ways and been successful and known for it. And I think I wanted to get to that because you are in that interesting category, I think, or you were for a while with your Dodge commercials. Yeah. To where you were like, I liken it to the Allstate guy that nobody knows that guy's, they don't know that guy's name, but they know Mr. Mayhem or Flo from the Progressive or something like that. You were one of those people that it became, that thing got a Hemi became a thing. Yes. And you were seen everywhere and people were quoting your tagline. And that's got to be a very odd existence.
That was weird. It was crazy. It was good and bad. So that is the first big thing that I did, right? Okay. So I had, prior to that, been doing stand-up all over the country as a feature act. Maybe on TV once or twice on a late night set at 2 a.m, some random thing here and there, but nothing big. This commercial I get is nationwide. It's worldwide, actually. I've seen German versions of it. It's been all over the place. Yeah. So it hit big, and I did 6 of them for a long time. And now everyone recognizes my face, and they associate me as that white trashy redneck guy in that Dodge commercial, who says that thing got a Hemi, 5 words. And now my face is everywhere. No one knows I'm a comedian. They don't know I've been busting my ass all over the country, living off my credit card, trying to build something that way. Yeah. They just know redneck Hemi guy, right? So it was a blessing and a curse. It was a blessing because I got paid decently. That was a good paycheck. I mean, I did 6 of those over the course of 4 or 5 years, so that was a good time.
Seems like more than 6. I mean, you saw so many of them. It seems like they were. You could tell they were hot. They were clearly working.
Yeah. They sold the product. I did all kinds of events for Dodge. They would pay me to go to car shows where I was a celebrity judge of a burnout contest, sending me to the Daytona 500 3-4 years in a row. Yeah. So it was a whole thing, you know. It worked, and I learned. I did the Detroit Auto Show, and I was like a celebrity bartender at some event. And these German guys, because I don't know if this is the case now, but Dodge Chrysler was owned by a German company or something. Okay. So these guys were coming from Germany. I was pouring beers for people, and these 2 German guys were walking up. They're going, and you could tell they were snickering, and they didn't understand English. Yeah. But somehow they got out the words. They said, Hemi inside. I go, yes, Hemi inside. Every one of us. But I just remember people from the agency and Dodge corporate were telling me, like, the reason why we keep making these commercials is because it's selling the product. Yeah. Like, it was working, and so they kept making them, but they didn't know me as a stand-up, which was kind of bugging me. I mean, I was a theater major at college, but I wasn't serious about it. I was mostly serious about the stand-up. So it bugged me that people wasn't giving me props for that, Yeah. And even today, it's weird. Like, that's the one thing that people don't forget. I've one last comic standing. I've been in sitcoms, movies, voiceovers. The Dodge Hemi thing will not die. Yeah. Everywhere I go. And I still hear it. Like, and what bugs me too is it's a question. People will yell at me, "That thing got a Hemi?" And because it's a question, your brain feels obligated to answer. So I can't just leave it alone because I feel like I'm ignoring.
You have to respond.
I have to go like no or yeah or not anymore. So I have to engage, and that bugs me a little bit, So they got me.
So what do you consider? You mentioned all the things that you've done. You've won Last Comic Standing on NBC. You've had this worldwide commercial, all the success. You've done movies and TVs. But what is success to you? Is it the fact that after all these years, you're still headlining in clubs? You can keep doing it for, as long as you want to keep doing it, essentially. Is it, or was there a time when you went, okay, now I'm successful?
That definition's changed. To me, success would have been me having my own sitcom. The goal was my own sitcom. I was on Rodney Carrington's sitcom for 2 seasons, and that's where I got the bug, because that was a great job. A 3-camera or 4-camera sitcom where there's a studio audience is one of the best jobs ever, because there's an audience there. So they have to do all of this in 1 week. So it's not like when you watch a show like, I don't know, what's a good 1-camera show these days? What's Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Let's just say Breaking Bad. That's like a movie.
Right.
So there's no audience there, which means they can take their time. They can make you do stuff all day. You're working from sun up to sundown. These sitcoms that are like with a studio audience, they got to turn them out quick. So it's real fast. Yeah. You work, you go home, and the paycheck is nice. So I kind of wanted my own sitcom. I had written several ones and had my own ideas for them. And to me, that would have been a success. And it, of course, like 99.9% of every comedian, it doesn't work out.
Right.
And once I came to terms with that, my definition changed.
Was it hard to come to terms with that? Having had a little taste of that sitcom life, was there a moment where you had to go, okay, the sitcom thing is not going to work out, so I've got to go do something. I got to go a different direction. Yeah. Like, how disappointing is that to overcome?
It's disappointing, but it's also the norm. So once I realized other people saying like, well, what'd you expect? I mean, no one. I mean, it's very rare. Like maybe 10 people, I don't know what the number is, 10 or 20 comedians in the history of the world had a sitcom with their name in it. Like, it's very rare. Yeah. Rodney was a rare one. There's not many people who do that. So that was okay. Success to me now is being able to work, make people laugh, and get paid, and not resort to a real job. Right. If I can be my own boss in this weird way, then that's a victory. I don't know what skills I have.
Was that the biggest disappointment of your career, not getting the sitcom?
Let's see. That's a disappointment. The biggest disappointment is caused by me. Like, if I could go back and be more diligent, because I've had the tendency to, but my career's done this over the years. 1 minute I'm on a sitcom's over. What are you doing? What's going on? Oh, I won Last Comic Standing. Oh, okay, then that's over. What's going on? Oh, I'm in Eastbound and Down. So it's always kind of done that. Yeah. But in the dips, I feel like it's kind of me that took my foot off the gas. Like, some comedians who just like get a publicist and they ride that train and they just keep pushing forward. I don't know, maybe I'm lazy sometimes, or I'm just like, no, let's just chill. Let's enjoy this moment.
Right.
And just coast.
Enjoy the downtime?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But so I think the disappointment's on me. I would have tried, maybe I would go back in time and say, well, return this phone call. Do this. Actually do what that guy said, or don't do what that guy said. I would have made some different decisions, but at the end of the day, it's not big.
What's the best piece of advice someone ever gave you?
Best piece of advice? Gosh, different ones. Tim Wilson, because I was busting my butt for a long time and nervous and always like trying to make this show, like I'm trying to do the best, trying to kill every time.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to be the best comedian every night, every time I performed. And Tim Wilson was like, I asked him for some advice, and he just said, enjoy this show tonight. Like, just enjoy it. You don't have to crush every time. If an idea doesn't work, I learned how to improv a little bit. I learned how to do crowd work, and that helped definitely, because people can tell when a guy's just up there going over a script in
Right.
their brain and getting the joke out, as opposed to soaking it up, enjoying the moment, acknowledging something weird or crazy that happens in the room, rolling it into your
Is
set.
it a relaxation thing?
Yeah.
Where you kind of ease back off the throttle and just, you're not coasting,
Yeah.
but you're more, you slow down and enjoy, be in the moment
Yeah.
with the crowd as opposed to just throttle down, here I come, like a freight train.
I think that's what Tim was trying to tell me. Is like, just enjoy it. You don't have to you don't have to cram it down their throat. Just give it to them a little teaspoons here and there. They'll appreciate it with better that way. So that was good advice. That's just how I interpreted it. I don't know what he meant by that necessarily, but that's kind of how I interpret that. And you know, just don't quit. Like, I didn't have a backup plan, so I didn't know. I wasn't going to quit. I didn't know what I was going to do. But another good advice: probably save some money. Yeah. That's another thing I would go back and change.
Save more money
I would
early
have
on.
saved more.
I think we
would-
all would have done that if we had the chance.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't have got married.
Yeah.
You know, girls and booze. Be careful. Those are the traps.
Yeah.
Girls and alcohol. Be careful.
So you go to L.A. How old were you when you went to L.A.?
I moved there in 2000.
Okay.
I would have said late 20s. Yeah, mid to late 20s.
What made you make that move?
I was already doing well in festivals and contests all over the country. I was headlining a little bit here and there. I started doing colleges back when you could do colleges and
colleges,
not get canceled. You know,
Have you sworn off colleges also?
No, I think they've sworn off me.
Okay.
I mean, I would do them.
Yeah.
I'm not really that kind of I'm not really offensive. You know, that whole Chris Rock thing with Will Smith.
Yeah.
That was insane. And every comedian's like, oh, now we're all going to get slapped. Now we're all going to get slapped. I go, well, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't insult people.
Right.
You know, I've never been the roast kind of comedian. I don't even, and I appreciate and I respect the people who can do that. I'm not good at it. I actually get mad, you know, and I'm supposed to laugh it off and it shows you don't care, but like, I couldn't do it. I've done it a handful of times. I don't like it. But I'm not that guy. I make fun of me. So I don't see an opportunity why someone would want to slap me when I'm already slapping myself verbally.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not that guy, but it's I don't know. I forgot the question.
So did I. That's okay.
We
were talking about going to L.A. Why you decided to go to L.A. You were headlining, playing colleges.
Yeah, I was doing colleges. I was headlining colleges. I was doing well all over the road, and so I got invited to the Montreal Just for Laughs festival, and I did well there. I already had a buddy living in L.A., a guy named Jeff Richards, who was already we started stand up around the same time. I met him at the club that I started at. It's funny that actually the people I started with, a lot of them who went off to do so. Jeff Richards might be the only guy to be both hired and fired from both Mad TV and SNL.
Wow.
Yeah, hired and fired, not picked up, but get out of here. He's a funny dude. He does impressions. He's a character. He lives it. So, but we started around the same time. He was going to UNC Chapel Hill. I was going to NC State. Another girl named Retta, she's doing well. Retta, she started there. Ken Jung, the doctor, Dr. Ken, has started there as well. I've seen him. So we all started around the same time. Jeff went to LA a year or two before me. So I had a friend out there. So when I did Montreal and had all these meetings set up in LA, like I had meetings with Ron Howard's Imagine TV, CBS, they all wanted to talk to me because I was new, you know, and I guess they hadn't had a hillbilly in a minute. Right. You know, they were like, oh, blue collar guys, they're getting old. We need new blue collar guys. And I was like one of the new guys. And so I moved to LA. I stayed with Jeff Richards for a little bit. Didn't know how long I would last. And I told myself, if I don't do something on television within 2 years, then I'm going to say I tried. So I never wanted to look back on my career and go like, well, why didn't you try?
Yeah.
So I give myself 2 years. If nothing happens on television, I'm going to go back home, focus on just being the biggest fish in that pond in North Carolina I can be, and grow that way. But I didn't have to do that. I got on this show called Late Friday, did stand up on that. I go, okay, that's going to re-up my contract with myself. So now I'll extend it another 2 years. And then the commercials started happening. So that's why I moved there, is I already had a friend there. It was easy for me just to go there and couch surf.
And then why did you come back to Hickory?
I came back to Hickory about 3 or 4 years ago. It was many reasons. So I was already doing fine. My career's always been like this, like I told you. I was missing my family. Like, I literally missed mom, dad, brother, son, all my friends. I'm like, I've missed out a lot of stuff. I would come home and visit, and I'd hear people, my friends or a family, talking about something that happened last weekend, and they're all laughing and weighing in, and I'm like, I can't contribute. And I was like, that's a bummer. I started getting sad. And the industry changed. I mean, Eastbound and Down, Harold and Kumar were auditions I got when I was on the road anyway. The industry changed.
So you didn't have to be in LA anymore.
Exactly. There's no reason for me to be here. I'm already established. People know who I am. I've already done some stuff. I miss my family. I can audition and live anywhere. What's keeping me in LA? Nothing. And so I thought, all right, I will fix up my condo. I'll put it on the market. And if I get the offer I want, I'll sell it, and that will be the sign. I put it on the market, got an offer the next day for over. I'm like, okay, so I'm out.
Time to go.
Time to go. I flew Dad out first class. I said, Dad, help me pack my stuff up. We'll take a father-son road trip across the country with my stuff. And that was great. So he came out, he packed my stuff up. We put it in a U-Haul. We dragged it all the way across the country. And now I'm home, and I'm thinking, all right, this is where I'm supposed to be. Dad has a stroke. And so now on Thanksgiving Day, he has a stroke, and now he's paralyzed on his left side, lives in a skilled nursing facility. Mom's never lived by herself. Her whole life never lived alone. And I couldn't leave her there by herself. So I decided to stay there looking after Mom and Dad. Then COVID happens, and I couldn't even leave if I wanted to.
Right.
So I think it was meant to be.
Meant to be. I was going to say it's almost meant to be.
I would have hated myself and have been struggling had I stayed in LA, Dad had a stroke, and COVID happened. Because when I sold my condo, I got a lot of money. It's just sitting there. I'm not doing anything with it. Parents' house is paid for. I got no bills. So that's a sweet spot. But had I stayed in LA with a mortgage, not being able to work, Dad in the hospital, like it would have been horrible.
Certainly couldn't have sold it under COVID circumstances for the same money and everything.
That's true.
Yeah, it's meant to be.
So I think it was.
And talk about this setup you've got. This is a great setup that you have here. Tell everybody what you've got going now and what you're doing.
So when I moved back here, I thought, well, I got to do something creative. I can't just not do anything. And so Alan Jackson, this is his building. Went to I've known Alan my whole life. I came back home, and I knew he had, he does a lot with the film industry. He's got a lot of other podcasts. He does a lot of videos. And I thought, let me talk to Alan about starting something here with me. And the original idea was to do a TV show. And we did a pilot called Hickory Live, and we were going to shop that around. Then COVID happened. Yeah. And I thought, well, let's just keep doing a podcast. And so we started this podcast. I'm very proud of what we've accomplished here. We've got 6 cameras. Well, I think we have more cameras than any podcast. And we give money away. I give my residual checks to people. It's a live show that we do every Tuesday.
You open the residual checks on the air, right?
Yeah. I got several
because
right
people
here.
naturally assume that you get a residual check, because all you hear is the Friends cast makes $20 million a year off a residual and all that kind of stuff. But you're getting, I mean, I'm sure some of them are just like
$2. Here, I got one I opened the other day. Now here's what I do: is I open this check. I'll play it with you right now.
Okay.
So here's one. This is for Eastbound and Down. I did 4 episodes of Eastbound and Down the last season. This is for 1 episode, and it's for video, DVD, and pay television. How much? What do you think?
Well, I think you said roughly $2.
This is $6.44. Right there, $6.44. And so what I do is I made a game out of it. I have people call in, and they guess the amount. Closest person, I need to send this one. I signed it over, and I put it in the mail, and I send it to people.
Send it to them?
They got to give me their address, but I'll do it, and I've sent it. Now, I've been burned before because I still get checks that are pretty high.
Yeah.
Randomly. Like I did a movie called Into the Storm. And it really depends on how big your role was. So at Eastbound Down, it was a small part. Into the Storm, I was like one of the not a major star, but I was like a co-star, and with a substantial part. We all got paid the same, called Favored Nations. But so when that one airs, I get a bigger paycheck. So I've opened those before. I've given away $1,000, $900.
Because you don't know what the check.
I don't know.
You don't know what it's from.
That's the fun of the game. I mean, you could win $1, you could win $1,000.
Like, damn, I didn't mean to.
Twice it's happened where I'm like, you could tell too. Yeah. Like I'm like, this one's gonna hurt. But I send it. I don't know if they can cash them. I do write their name and put my name on it, endorsed by, and I send it. Some people, if it's low, they'll just keep it because it's a cool thing to have.
Yeah.
But I don't. I'm not looked back to see if they've cashed them. I just, you do your thing. If it doesn't work, what I'm going to do is go back and look at the Screen Actors Guild.
So if you're watching and you have one of these checks,
you better cash it.
Or the big money checks. If you're not going to cash it, send it back. Because
you either need to cash
John would like to have it back,
or know that I will. File it missing, and then I'll get another check.
And then, so the show airs. How do people follow the show?
You can follow us live every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. You can watch us. We're two things. We're video and audio. So Tuesday nights live on my Facebook channel and YouTube. You can watch us live. You can participate. You can call in. We'll read your comments live. Or if you want to listen to it as a regular podcast just on your ear holes, it's anywhere else you would get a podcast. Okay. Apple, everywhere. And you could those come out Friday. So it's been fun. This is what I love doing the most right now. And this plugs the stand-up. So I'll do this and I'll plug a tour date. And then there are people who've been coming to the shows based on knowing it from this. So
and then you're still, obviously, you're out fully on tour all the time.
All the time. You can get my tour dates at countryish.com. Click on tour dates.
So a couple of things to wrap up. As advice for people. Like, what is your advice for someone, whether they want to be a stand-up or a mechanic or what's something you've learned in life that you think is a worthy thing to share with anybody who might be going through a tough time?
I think it's good to know yourself. I mean, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. And sometimes we don't know what that is until a certain age. I knew pretty early I was funny. I didn't know I could make money at it. But my dad told me, like, find the best job in the world is doing something you love and finding out how to get paid for it. I didn't think this would happen, but I knew I was good at it, and that's what I chased it. Now, if you know you're good at working with your hands, figure out what that is.
Yeah, I learned early on I'm not good with my hands.
I'm not either. We both have.
What is your weakness then? What's a weakness?
My weakness is probably anything that would have to do with like yard work or manual labor. Right. I have many weaknesses. Yeah. Actually, everything except comedy is my weakness. Chocolate's my weakness. Eating healthy is my weakness. But I'm pretty good at communicating with people. I'm pretty good at relationships for the most part. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty good at making people laugh. So I focus on that. Everything else, I try to improve, but it's tough.
What's one thing that people don't understand about comedians or comedy?
Oh.
Maybe they just don't, because they don't do it.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about how difficult it is and how lonely it can be.
I think there's probably some people out there that think, we just go up there and riff. Yeah. Or we just go up there and we're clowns, we're buffoons. But it takes some clever thought to come up to make people laugh. I mean, imagine walking into a room of people who know they're there to laugh, who know that there's a guy who's going to come up there in a minute and make you laugh, and they're sitting there like, prove it. Yeah, that's hard. So that takes some thought, some planning, some effort, and some skill. So it's not I don't think you can be a dumb person and be a successful comedian. Good. You can pretend to be dumb, but you can actually be dumb and be a successful comedian. We're pretty clever. So know that. We're not all dumb.
I think also people talk about it. They don't understand the work that goes into it because it's not work like
it's not
yard work or working with your hands or whatever. Yeah. It's a lot of it can be when you're driving or when you sit down with a notepad or you're sitting on your back porch and just mulling over, would I use this word or that word? How would I where does that go? What do I do with this? Would that be funny? And you're constantly just kind of tinkering and crafting and moving things around until you hit the sweet spot, or you realize this isn't funny after all. I should abandon this and move on to something else.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of the work doesn't look like work.
Yeah,
it looks like you're just goofing off.
Yeah,
which
is what it's supposed to look like when it's
when
good.
You do it well. It's fun. But so a lot of times I'm sitting there on my laptop, and this is what's because now I live with my mom.
Yeah,
ladies, I don't want to get you excited. You're looking at a 50-year-old man who lives with his mom. So that's my roommate is my mom. Yeah. So now in the morning I'll get up, I'll make coffee, I'll crack open the laptop and just start doing stuff. And to her it looks like I'm just playing on Facebook. I know it looks like it. And she's out there cleaning the pool, coming in sweat, and I feel like, I should go out there. I'm like, no, but I'm working. I know it doesn't look like work, but trust me, this will turn into money. So it doesn't look like we're working, but we are.
Is there anything out there yet that you haven't done that you still want to do? Would you want Country-ish to go huge, or would you? I mean, is there a starring movie role or any of that kind of stuff that's out there that you're like that one thing that you're working toward that you've yet to accomplish?
Yeah, like a successful show of my own, whatever that is. Right now, I'm focused on this. I would love it if this were to take off, and be like as big as Joe Rogan's podcast. Yeah. I mean, that would be the best job now. Had you asked me this 10 years ago, I would say my own sitcom or my own series of movies. I'm kind of done with Hollywood. Like not done. Like I'm not going to chase them anymore. I just want to grow so big here that they're going to have to do something with me.
Something's happening there. Let's go find out what this guy's doing.
What is this?
Sure.
Not me like, hey, I got something. They're like, nah, get out of here, redneck. So that's how I want to approach it these days. So the goal is to make country-ish. Right now, we are ranked number 2 according to the World Podcast Federation. And that is a website that I bought and ranked myself. So I'd like to turn that into a reality.
Sounds like a wrestling federation is what it sounds like.
Anyone with a federation sounds wrestling. But I'll put yours on there, too.
Sounds great. Thank you.
We got 10 of them, and we make it look like
I'm anywhere in the top 10, I'm good. Okay. I'll be fine with that. So I think it's a great story for a variety of reasons. But one of the things that I love about you and your story is having had a chance to we've interviewed you a couple of times through the years on the radio, and you've been in, is that you don't seem to change. You still seem to be the same guy. And I get the impression that the way you talk about coming back home to be with your friends and your mom and all that is that everybody else feels the same way too, that despite your success and all that and all the effort and the hard work that you put into it, you haven't changed as a person. And I think that says a lot about you and your upbringing.
Right.
And what being from Hickory in and of itself.
I think the good qualities of me haven't changed. I think so I left Hickory in 1992. I was 20. And so I went to Raleigh. I lived in Raleigh for 6 years. Yeah. Then I moved to LA for 18 years. And then I come back to Hickory. So I've not been in Hickory for a very long time. So the people who only knew me in high school in Hickory, to them I have changed. Because I'm educated now. I'm road tested and experienced.
Right.
I've got experience,
So, you've lived a life that they haven't, and they can't equate.
So
because
to them,
a different world.
Some of them are like, I remember I went to a local high school game, and I was sitting there talking with some of my friends, and one of my friends looked at me. He goes, "You sound different." And I don't like it. I was like, I'm sorry, Eddie. I don't know what to tell you. This is me now. I hope you like this
I've been all over the world.
I don't know what to tell you. I enjoy sushi now. I'm sorry. So there's that part. But that's just, small things. The core hasn't changed of like family, friends.
Okay. Did you ever, I know we got to wrap up, but did you ever have a moment where somebody had to sit you down or you realized yourself, I got a little. Maybe I should ease. But I got a little bit of the big head here. Maybe I'm a little bit too big. I'm bigger than I think I.
Yeah, that just sort of happens naturally over time. I mean, anyone who's done this long enough, you'll get the first time you get up here, you're like, oh, here we go now. Yeah, there are times where I've had the big head, and then I'll come back down to earth. I remember this. This is great. So I was on Last Comic Standing. I was in the top 5, and we were filming stuff, and we had a 2-week break before we were come back and film more stuff. So during that 2-week break, I had a gig in Laughlin, Nevada. So I go to have you ever been to Laughlin, Nevada?
No.
It's like it's a really nasty version of Las Vegas. It's dirty, it's nasty, everyone smokes and they're old.
I got it. It sounds like I got to go.
Very.
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of liked it. It's very white trashy and rednecky, just desert in the middle of nowhere.
I would love it.
It's fun. I had a good time. But I remember doing this gig in Laughlin, Nevada. Now, in my brain, I'm big now. All right, I've been on Last Comic Standing. I'm in the top 5. I have a chance to win this thing. All right, so I do a gig, and I'm going back to my hotel room. And as I'm walking back to my hotel room, I'm trying to like not look at people because I don't want to get recognized because I'm too famous and I don't want to talk to anybody. And I ain't got time for you. I got to get back to my room. And so I'm walking down this hallway, and I see this lady coming at me. Right, she's drunk. I think she's pregnant. And she was smoking a cigarette, and she's walking towards me. And in my head, as I'm looking down, I'm like, "Ah, damn, this woman's gonna recognize me. I'm gonna talk to this stupid lady." And I'm walking, like, just look at the floor. And as I'm walking. And then I did that mistake where that last second I kind of look up, and we locked eyes. And she goes, "Oh, hey, look who it is! Wow, you're up here. I guess you didn't win, huh?" Like that. And I'm thinking, well, it's not over. I have a chance to win. I'm in the top 5. I need your vote. And in that moment, I realized she had no idea what I was talking about. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the jet ski downstairs. They're laughing off. You're up here. I guess you didn't win. She had no idea it was on TV. And that made me feel that big. And I go, okay. Let's come back.
Have a good night, man. I'm just going back to the.
Sorry, you're right. I did not win the jet ski.
Well, I hope everybody will check out Countryish.
Yes.
Tuesday nights on your Facebook page.
Live.
All right. And then podcast is out and available. Countryish airs it drops on Fridays. And then go see. Thanks, man, for taking the time. I think it's a really inspiring story of somebody who's, done really well for himself and hasn't changed all that much. I appreciate you taking the time.
And you too. I got to get you on this podcast.
I would love
to. I could ask you these same questions.
This looks like a ball of fun. I would love to come down sometime. This is great.
I'd love to get both of you guys here.
We'd be here in a heartbeat. No problem.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.